You think big names like CVS, Macy's, or Walgreens will always be around? Think again, because the truth is closing in fast. These retail giants might disappear from the American landscape within just a few months. And it's not just one or two. An entire wave of once dominant brands is now teetering on the edge of collapse. Picture this. You head out to your favorite store only to find the doors permanently shut. Why is this happening? Major retail chains are facing an unprecedented crisis, and if you're not paying attention, you might soon wake up to a harsh new reality. Nowhere left to buy the everyday essentials you rely on. The world of shopping is shifting rapidly, and most people won't be ready when it hits. Here are 10 major chains that could soon vanish from your neighborhood. The number is shocking, the warning is real. Number 1. McDonald's. It's no exaggeration to say McDonald's was once a global symbol of convenience, speed, and affordability. But does that image still hold up today? Here's something few people are paying attention to. McDonald's is now closing more locations than ever, particularly in low-income and working-class neighborhoods, the very markets that once formed its core customer base. Why? Because even their most loyal customers can no longer afford them. Let's start with a number. The average price of a Big Mac combo meal in the U.S. has now hit $13, a nearly 40% increase since 2019. For a working-class family of 4, a simple trip to McDonald's can now cost over $50, roughly equivalent to an entire day's post-tax wages for some minimum wage earners. With inflation showing no signs of slowing, more and more Americans are turning back to cooking at home and seeking cheaper alternatives. McDonald's, once seen as the go-to meal for the working class, is now being rebranded by its own customers as a non-essential luxury. In an internal survey conducted in early 2025, 65% of American consumers said they had cut back on McDonald's visits compared to the previous year. Not because they no longer liked the food, but simply because they couldn't afford it. But price is only part of the story. The chain is also facing mounting backlash from the very communities it once served. Cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York have seen waves of closures, not only due to falling sales, but also because of rising safety concerns surrounding crime and severe labor shortages. Some locations have shortened their hours or shut down entirely because they simply can't find people willing to work for minimum wage under high-stress conditions. Meanwhile, McDonald's aggressive shift toward automation, replacing workers with self-service kiosks and machines, is stripping the brand of its human touch. What was once a friendly, fast interaction has become a cold, impersonal transaction on a touchscreen. Older customers and young children alike are finding themselves alienated from a once familiar experience. Perhaps more worrying, McDonald's is no longer the untouchable giant it used to be. Competitors like Chick-fil-A, Wendy's, and even convenience store chains like 7-Eleven are increasingly encroaching on its market share. When McDonald's is no longer cheap, no longer friendly, and no longer convenient, what exactly is left to keep customers loyal? And if a powerhouse like McDonald's is starting to slip, is this the canary in the coal mine for America's entire fast food culture? The life fast, eat fast model may be cracking under the weight of economic reality. We may be witnessing the quiet downfall of an icon, and the question now is, who's next? Number 2, Costco. Many might be surprised to see Costco on a list of retail chains at risk. After all, with its long lines out the door, overflowing shopping carts, and bustling warehouse model, Costco has long been viewed as an unshakable fortress amid the ever-changing tides of retail. But behind the scenes, quiet shifts are underway, signs not of immediate collapse, but of a gradual erosion in relevance as the retail world transforms at lightning speed. Costco currently operates over 870 stores worldwide, with nearly 600 in the U.S. alone. Its 2024 revenue topped $240 billion, a remarkable figure. But dig into the business model, and the cracks begin to show. Costco relies on 2 key pillars: enormous sales volume and annual membership fees, currently around $60 for the basic tier, and over $120 for executive. The question is, in an era of tightening budgets, how many people are still willing to pay just for the right to shop? A 2025 survey by Morning Consult found that nearly 1 in 4 former Costco members in the U.S. had canceled or chosen not to renew their memberships due to financial concerns. Meanwhile, younger shoppers, particularly Gen Z and millennials, are shifting toward online platforms and convenience stores that don't require fees, offer home delivery, and don't expect you to buy in bulk. This hits at the heart of Costco's vulnerability. It doesn't suit people living in small spaces without large storage capacity or without a car. On top of that, the cost of maintaining massive warehouse stores, staffing, and complex logistics is rising sharply. especially in an inflationary climate that shows no sign of easing. The global supply chain, once a core strength of Costco, has become a burden as import prices, transportation fees, and fuel costs soar. In 2024, Costco's profit margin hovered around just 25%, an incredibly fragile cushion should another economic shock hit. And here's a critical flaw. Costco has largely ignored e-commerce, even as competitors like Amazon, Walmart, and Target have made aggressive moves into online sales, rapid delivery, and mobile-optimized shopping experiences. While Costco has experimented with delivery services through Instacart, customers have often complained about higher prices and sluggish shipping times, making the experience less competitive. So where is Costco headed if it doesn't pivot fast? We may not see a dramatic collapse or waves of store closures, but a slow fade, a steady loss of younger customers, and a rebranding as a niche option for older, more traditional shoppers. That is the real threat. And if that scenario unfolds, American consumers could lose yet another affordable option just when they need it most, amid soaring prices and deepening economic uncertainty. Number 3. Walgreens. Have you noticed the Walgreens stores that once lit up street corners, open 24/7 and bustling with staff, are now quietly posting signs that read, "permanently closed" or drastically reducing their hours? This isn't just a few isolated cases, it's part of a large-scale downsizing effort that's unfolding quietly but alarmingly. As of the end of 2024, Walgreens had shuttered over 700 locations across the U.S., with closures concentrated in states like California, Oregon, New York, and Illinois. Areas burdened by high operating costs, worsening public safety, and a surge in petty theft. Most strikingly, the company reported a net loss of nearly $6 billion in its most recent fiscal year, the worst financial result in its 120-year history. In an effort to cut losses, Walgreens has not only been closing stores, but also eliminated 10% of its corporate workforce and sold off stakes in several of its pharmaceutical ventures. The issue runs deeper than finances. Walgreens is caught in a double crisis, shifting consumer behavior and a worsening labor shortage in the pharmacy sector. Picture this. Fewer people are walking into stores to fill prescriptions. They prefer to order online or visit integrated clinics where they can consult a doctor and pick up their medication in one stop. Meanwhile, Walgreens locations are increasingly short on pharmacists, leading to long queues, frustrated customers, and falling revenues. One of the biggest pain points has been the nationwide pharmacist strikes in 2023 and 2024, with hundreds protesting underpaid, overworked conditions, and the pressure of automated prescription systems. The public trust in Walgreens took a major hit, and it shows. Even more troubling, many of the shuttered stores were located in low-income urban neighborhoods and remote rural areas, places where residents depend heavily on their nearest pharmacy for essential medicines, vaccines, and basic healthcare products. When Walgreens pulls out, these communities aren't just losing a retailer, they're losing a key part of an already fragile healthcare system. A chain as large as Walgreens with over 8,600 locations won't vanish overnight. But with every new round of layoffs, every store that goes dark, we edge closer to a future that demands serious reflection. Is America's pharmacy retail system crumbling in slow motion? And if Walgreens, one of the big three in the pharmacy world, is struggling to stay afloat amid financial storms and social transformation, what does that say about the future of smaller drugstores or the average American's access to affordable local health care? Number 4, CVS. CVS, an iconic name that has stood tall for nearly 60 years in the American pharmaceutical and retail landscape, now finds itself facing an increasingly uncertain future. The question is, will we continue to see CVS stores dotting neighborhoods like we used to? Will those familiar pharmacy aisles still be around much longer? Right now, the outlook for CVS couldn't be bleaker. Despite remaining the largest retail pharmacy chain in the U.S., CVS is grappling with an unprecedented challenge: the rapid transformation of American consumer habits. The pharmacy business is no longer just about selling pills and first aid kits at brick-and-mortar locations. With the rise of e-commerce and telehealth, going into a physical store to pick up medication is becoming increasingly obsolete. Today, consumers can order prescriptions online with just a few clicks without ever leaving the house. It's a trend CVS can no longer ignore. Tech giants like Amazon aren't just putting pressure on CVS. They're actively dismantling the very model it was built on. According to a report from Morning Consult, nearly 40% of American consumers have purchased medications through online platforms, signaling a seismic shift in the pharmaceutical retail space. Amazon, once just a bookstore and electronics hub, is now a major player in the prescription drug business, directly eroding CVS's market dominance. If you still believe CVS can maintain its position solely through its physical storefronts, you might be clinging to the past. Today's consumers are flocking to telehealth services, online consultations, and instant home delivery, a reality that's rewriting the rules of the game. The saturation of the retail pharmacy market isn't just about rising competition, it's also about rising costs. CVS is battling surging operational expenses and increasing labor wages, yet struggling to adapt its business model effectively for the digital age. Maintaining a vast physical presence across the country has turned into a heavy financial burden, especially now that foot traffic is declining and consumer habits have shifted. The explosive growth of on-demand services has changed the landscape dramatically. Online services is cornering CVS into a tight spot. How long can they realistically hold on to their market share as stronger, more agile competitors keep emerging? It's time to ask the hard question. Can CVS survive the digital revolution and the evolving expectations of modern consumers? If you're one of CVS's loyal customers, this question should concern you deeply. Will those familiar shelves, those local pharmacists still be there in the years ahead? The fall of a name as big as CVS isn't some far-off scenario. It's a possibility that could unfold within the next few years. Number 5. Macy's. For decades, Macy's has been etched into the American consumer consciousness, a household name, a department store giant, a symbol of tradition and holiday grandeur. But today, few would have imagined that this iconic brand now teeters on the edge of disappearing before our very eyes. While we may still picture bustling Macy's stores during festive seasons, the reality unfolding behind the scenes tells a very different and far more sobering story. Declining revenue and a seismic shift in shopping habits are forcing Macy's to fight for its survival. So what exactly is happening to Macy's? The downfall of this once mighty chain isn't just the tale of a brand in trouble. It's the symptom of a retail revolution taking place right beneath our feet. Although Macy's still maintains a physical presence in many malls across the country, how much longer can that last? Sales continue to drop, store closures are accelerating, and customers are migrating en masse to online platforms. All signs point toward a grim future. Without bold and transformative action, Macy's may soon become a cautionary tale, proof that even legendary names aren't immune to the forces reshaping retail. Recent reports show that Macy's revenue fell by more than 5% over the past year, a significant loss for a company of its size. But that's merely the tip of the iceberg. The deeper issue lies in the company's inability to adapt to changing consumer preferences. As Americans increasingly turn their backs on traditional malls and shift toward e-commerce giants like Amazon and Walmart, Macy's has struggled to keep pace. All the while, the costs of maintaining a sprawling network of brick-and-mortar stores and the workforce to staff them have become a crushing financial burden. So what lies ahead for Macy's? Can it evolve quickly enough to remain relevant? Or will it join the ranks of once famous brands that have faded into history under the weight of digital disruption? In the months to come, Macy's will face a defining choice: continue down a path of stagnation and irrelevance, or reinvent itself completely in order to survive. The future of a beloved American icon may well hang in the balance. Number 6. Nordstrom. If there's one retail chain that once embodied elegance, stability, and luxury in the American market, it was Nordstrom. But the times have changed. The question is no longer how's Nordstrom doing, but rather is this once invincible retail icon quietly retreating from the market and no one is noticing? Nordstrom was long considered the pride of high-end retail, a place where customers gladly paid a premium for personalized service and a refined shopping experience. Ironically, it is precisely that model that has become a liability in the post-pandemic era, where consumers are more frugal, cautious in spending, and increasingly favor convenience over luxury. According to Nordstrom's Q4 2024 financial report, revenue dropped 41% year-over-year, and an even more concerning net profit margin shrank to just 15%, the lowest in over a decade. Meanwhile, Nordstrom Rack, the company's off-price division once hoped to attract the broader market, failed to meet its sales targets. Straddling the line between luxury and affordability, Nordstrom now finds itself caught in a no-man's land where neither model is performing well. Another troubling trend: consumers no longer prioritize the shopping as experience ethos. They don't want to drive 30 minutes to a mall just to try on clothes and walk out empty-handed. Today everything happens on a smartphone: browsing, buying, returning, reviewing. Though Nordstrom has invested in e-commerce, it still lags behind rivals like Amazon, Target, and even fast fashion giants like Shein. In an era where speed and low prices reign supreme, Nordstrom's high-touch service model is increasingly seen as an unaffordable luxury. And then came the closures. In 2024 alone, Nordstrom shuttered more than 15 full-line stores, including once iconic locations in San Francisco, Portland, and Minneapolis. Prime real estate, formerly Nordstrom's crown jewels, now bare for lease signs. Several malls have confirmed that Nordstrom is no longer the anchor tenant, directly impacting foot traffic and destabilizing the retail ecosystems around them. Sure, the Nordstrom name still adorns storefronts in a few upscale districts, but look closely. Fewer employees, more excess inventory, steeper discounts. The decline isn't loud or dramatic, but it's steady and unmistakable. And if even a premium brand like Nordstrom is struggling to survive, what does that say about the future of traditional retail at large? Can Nordstrom turn things around, or will it become the next emblematic name to vanish from the American retail landscape? That question is no longer distant, it's approaching day by day. Number 7. Rite Aid. There's a sobering truth that many Americans are only just beginning to face, one that few want to admit. Even the familiar neighborhood stores, once lifelines during the pandemic, are vanishing one by one. And Rite Aid is the most striking example of this quiet collapse. Once the third largest pharmacy chain in the U.S. behind only CVS and Walgreens, Rite Aid operated over 4,600 stores nationwide at its peak. But in less than a decade, that number has plummeted to just over 1,700 as of early 2025, a freefall with no signs of slowing. Most shocking of all, in late 2023, Rite Aid officially filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, leaving thousands unemployed and countless communities without a pharmacy within miles. The root cause wasn't merely financial mismanagement. A wave of lawsuits tied to opioid prescriptions, the highly addictive painkillers, has devastated the company. The U.S. Department of Justice accused Rite Aid of knowingly ignoring red flags and illegally dispensing hundreds of millions of pills, contributing to an opioid crisis that now claims more than 100,000 American lives annually. As a result, the company is staring down $3 billion in debt and has been forced to sell off assets, shut down hundreds of locations, and lay off thousands of workers. But the legal troubles are only part of the story. Rite Aid also failed to evolve in the digital age. While CVS aggressively expanded into digital health services and Walgreens invested in in-store clinics, Rite Aid clung to an outdated retail model, slow to modernize and seemingly without a long-term strategy to retain its customer base. In an era where consumers expect to order prescriptions online, have them delivered to their doors, or access them through integrated healthcare hubs, Rite Aid became increasingly irrelevant. Even more troubling is the human impact. In many rural and suburban communities, the only Rite Aid for miles has now shuttered, leaving entire populations abandoned. Elderly residents, chronic illness patients, and families without transportation are now forced to travel dozens of miles just to pick up a monthly prescription. In times of crisis, this isn't just inconvenient, it can be life-threatening. Rite Aid's story is not just a corporate bankruptcy, it's a broader warning. If a pharmacy chain embedded in thousands of local communities can no longer survive, is the very foundation of America's grassroots healthcare system quietly unraveling without anyone noticing? The collapse of Rite Aid isn't just a business failure, it's a wake-up call. Don't wait until the last store closes and people are left without a place to get their medicine to realize what's been lost. Number 8. Dollar General. In many rural parts of America where there are no big supermarkets, no traditional grocery stores, and not even a local pharmacy, Dollar General was once a symbol of stability. A place where for just a few spare dollars people could buy canned food, toilet paper, batteries, cold medicine, even a toy for their child. But now that very lifeline is sinking, and its decline threatens not just the future of discount retail, but the very backbone of America's low-income economy. As of early 2025, Dollar General operates more than 19,000 stores across the United States, more than McDonald's, Starbucks, and Walmart combined. But that massive scale is now becoming a liability. In 2023, the company's stock plummeted over 50%, forcing the CEO to resign and prompting a public apology to shareholders. Negative growth, shrinking profits, bloated inventories, and most alarmingly, a spike in theft and violence at store locations have brought the once booming giant to its knees. According to internal reports, violent incidents at Dollar General stores have doubled in just 3 years. States like Ohio, Georgia, and Alabama have recorded hundreds of assaults and robberies at these locations, many of which are staffed by only one or two overnight employees with no security guards and outdated or non-existent surveillance systems. Worse still, in October 2023, the U.S. Occupational Safety and Health Administration (OSHA) fined Dollar General over $21 million for workplace safety violations, the largest fine ever imposed on a retail chain. Inspectors found blocked emergency exits, no fire response plans, and untrained employees hazard. The retail landscape in America is facing unprecedented challenges. From once thriving giants to local staples, the industry is grappling with a crisis that affects both businesses and communities. Today, we delve into the heart of this crisis to understand its causes and implications. That put both workers and shoppers at serious risk. Meanwhile, the company's aggressive expansion strategy, opening thousands of new stores every year, has outpaced its ability to manage them. Stores are now chronically understaffed and poorly maintained. Products sit damaged on shelves, expiration dates are questionable, and the quality of inventory is slipping. The very communities that once depended on Dollar General are now losing faith. So the pressing question is, if a low-cost retail giant once seen as a central infrastructure for America's working poor can no longer sustain its model, what happens when a larger economic crisis hits? What happens to rural families, to small-town seniors, to those with no other option if Dollar General begins closing stores or cutting back further? This is more than just a company in trouble, it's a warning. The distribution network for essential goods, the invisible lifeline for millions, is starting to fray. And once that lifeline breaks, the consequences won't be measured in missing paper towels or canned beans. It could ripple into a full-blown humanitarian failure in the forgotten corners of America. Number 9, Best Buy. If there was ever a retail chain once considered the nation's tech showroom, a place where Americans flock to experience the latest TVs, feel the keys on a new laptop, or sample the sound of a high-end speaker system, it was Best Buy. But now ask your friends or family, when was the last time you walked into a Best Buy store? Most people likely won't even remember. This isn't just anecdotal, foot traffic has been steadily declining and so has revenue. In fiscal year 2023 alone, Best Buy sales dropped over 10% year over year, and even more alarming, net profit plunged by 32%. One key reason: the COVID-19 pandemic has permanently reshaped consumer habits. Americans no longer browse aisles to test and buy, they click, compare prices, read reviews, and place orders online. And that shift is slowly killing Best Buy's once thriving tech showroom model. But it's not just about changing habits, Amazon's silent pressure is relentless. While Amazon delivers directly to your doorstep, often at lower prices and with an endless inventory, Best Buy remains tied to a vast network of physical stores, with the overhead of leases, utilities, maintenance, and a large workforce. Imagine a customer walking into Best Buy, trying out a Dell laptop, only to pull out their phone and buy it on Amazon for $50 less. The situation worsens with a slowing consumer electronics market. According to the Consumer Technology Association, 2024 marked the first decline in TV and laptop sales in 5 years. Smartphones too have reached a saturation point. Users are holding on to devices longer rather than upgrading frequently, and that directly hits Best Buy's core product categories. More troublingly, Best Buy has begun downsizing its physical footprint, closing numerous locations in major shopping centers, once hubs that drew thousands of customers weekly. Areas like California, Illinois, and New York have already seen multiple stores quietly shut down. The issue isn't just that Best Buy is selling less, it's that the very model it represents, hands-on in-person tech shopping, is becoming obsolete. A new generation raised on TikTok, Amazon, and next-day delivery no longer sees value in traditional retail experiences. And if this model collapses, what happens to other chains built on the same foundation? What happens to the tens of thousands of workers in tech retail? And what happens to our relationship with the products we use when touching, testing, and human interaction are replaced by a cold, flat, impersonal screen? This isn't just Best Buy's story, it's the story of an America that's changing too fast, and not everyone can keep up. Number 10, Save Mart. Picture a Saturday morning in Central California. Locals wake up, drive to their familiar neighborhood store, only to find an empty parking lot and windows plastered with for lease signs. Save Mart is gone. And for many communities, especially in rural and lower-income urban areas, that's not just an inconvenience, it's a genuine blow to their well-being. With more than 200 stores primarily in California and parts of Nevada, Save Mart was once a trusted staple for millions of working-class and middle-income families. For over 70 years, it thrived in regions where big-box giants like Walmart and Target were hesitant to expand. But the harsh reality is, Save Mart is falling behind in the survival race of modern retail. In late 2023, the Save Mart companies, the chain's parent firm, sold the business to a private equity fund. What followed was a wave of aggressive restructuring, job cuts, closures of underperforming locations, and pricing strategy overhauls. But instead of stabilizing the company, these moves shook customer confidence. Longtime shoppers started drifting toward cheaper supermarkets or ordering online, pinching every penny they could. The core problem, Save Mart lacks the scale to compete with Walmart on price, and lacks the tech-driven convenience to match modern formats like Amazon Fresh. Operating costs are high while rising wages and inflation in grocery goods continue to erode slim profit margins. Internal reports revealed in early 2025 showed that average revenue per store has dropped over 18% in just 2 years, an alarming figure in a grocery industry where margins are razor thin to begin with. What makes matters worse is the heavy dependence many communities have on Save Mart. In dozens of small California towns, it is the only grocery store within a 10-mile radius. If Save Mart shuts down, residents are forced to drive farther, burning more time and fuel just to buy milk or bread. And for seniors, low-income families, or those without a car, they're effectively left behind. In this context, the real question isn't just can Save Mart survive, it's, is America silently allowing mid-sized retail chains, too small to beat Walmart, too analog to outpace Amazon, to vanish one by one? And when they do, who pays the price? The wealthy always have options, but what about the poor? We've just taken a closer look at 10 major retail chains in the U.S. that are facing serious crises, not just due to financial losses, but because of profound shifts in consumer behavior, technological disruption, and economic pressure. But let's be clear, this list isn't meant to predict the certain demise of these companies. Rather, it serves as a wake-up call, a warning about the troubling trends that are already taking shape. Now ask yourself, what would you do if one day you woke up and discovered your neighborhood store had closed for good? Where would you go to buy medicine, groceries, or basic household goods without having to drive dozens of miles? Or worse, are we entering an era where access to essential goods becomes a privilege, not a given? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Which of these chains do you believe will survive and which ones won't make it through the coming storm? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future deep dive videos on American life, economics, and society. Because the truth is, what's happening out there might already be reshaping all of our lives, whether we realize it or not.